Shalom, everybody. Welcome back. We have insights in the Parsha of the week. It's Parshat Vayakel and also Parshat Shekalim, the Shabbat preceding the month of Adar. In our case this year, Adar Bet, which is the real Adar, the main Adar one is closest to Nisan. Before we continue, just a reminder, if these classes have been illuminating you with the light of Rabbi Nachman, please share these classes far and wide. Okay, Parshat Shekalim. Rav Nosson, in his discourse, Nefilat Apayim Halacha Dalet, in his book Likutey Moharan, he goes into why does the whole unit of preparation for Purim and then preparation for Pesach and then preparation finally for Shavuot, it starts with this Shabbat called Shabbat Shekalim. He explains, first of all, what was Shekalim? Shekalim was an obligatory must tax, which is really a charity. It's a charity tax that every Jew, every male over the age of 20, beka lagugolit, which translates, in other words, they had to give a coin per head, a head count tax, which was really a charity, where the proceeds went towards the temple. They were called half shekel coins, machatzita shekel. These half shekel coins, number one, would be used to count the census of the Jews, but mainly it went towards purchasing sacrifices and what was necessary for the temple's actual activity all year round, which is the Ketorah, the incense also. So the sacrifices, the communal sacrifices, the Korban Tamid, Korban Tzibur, the sacrifices of the community, which were offered every morning and every afternoon and towards the evening, plus the incense, and then by extension all the other things, but mainly these two things was purchased from the money amassed by this obligatory tax, which was an obligatory tzedakah. Okay, so that's the idea of shekel. Now we do it we do it now before the month of Adar, because at the time of the Holy Temple, the time they would do this census and collecting money would be in the month of Adar. Okay, that's the time designated. The Mishnah and the Gemara goes into why the timing of specifically, according to Pshat, according to the simple meaning, the technical reason why it was needed for the month of Adar. Okay, Rav Nosson, though, in the Likutey Moharan, he goes a step further, and he says on a deeper level why this tzedakah, this tax, which was a tzedakah, was so necessary. So he says like this, that the key for our preparation for our salvation, which we try to relive on Pesach holiday and Shavuot, the main key is joy. The verse reads in Isaiah, Ki besimcha tetzeu, for with joy you will leave the exile. Ki besimcha tetzeu. That's the key. And since that's the key, everything must be done towards this direction. So Rav Nosson explains the whole idea of the Holy Temple, the Beit HaMikdash, and the sacrifices was in order to bring atonement and help and light and joy into the world, into the Jewish people. Very simple. The idea of a temple was to bring the light of God into this world. And what does this light of God do? It infuses people with such joy of realizing their connection to Hashem. They have a purpose and meaning in their existence, and they feel it and they appreciate it, and they feel the love and bond that Hashem has for us, for the Jewish people, and vice versa. This was the idea of the temple. Okay, so like a korban sacrifice is from the root of the word lekarev, to draw close. The idea of the sacrifices was to make us closer to Hashem, period. And there's no greater joy than that when you feel that closeness. When you feel that Hashem loves you, and there's a purpose and there's a meaning, and He's backing you up, and He's helping you, and you see the breakthroughs in life, there's no greater joy than that. And the Ktoret, the verse says clearly in Mishlei, Shemen uktoret yesamach lev. Okay, Ktoret brings joy to the heart. The idea of the Ktoret, on the Kabbalistic level, is that the fragrances, this combination of these 11 fragrances, including the galbanim, which had a bad smell in itself, but nonetheless, together with the other 10, produced a special type of fragrance, and that fragrance was able, as a spiritual root of smell, would be able to go into the forces of evil and extract holiness trapped there. So the korban does a job of bringing closer, and also the Torah extracts that which was far to bring it in the domain of holiness, so that the korbanot can draw them close. So they work hand in hand, the korbanot and the Torah, the sacrifices and the incense. Now, the tzedakah money, the shekalim, was an obligatory tzedakah, okay, towards these korbanot and Torah. So automatically, since donating this money went towards items which induce and inculcate happiness into the world, so it goes to say, Rav Nosson says, that this type of charity, called the machatzita shekel, that went towards the temple, itself already brings joy. That's the idea of the machatzita shekel. Rav Nosson explains, is that it activates the idea of joy. Now, more than this, we'll just go a step forward, and before we continue, the Torah in Parshat Kitisa, when it says each male head of over the age of 20 has to give this coin, so the term it uses is beka lagulgolet. Beka is the term of the coin currency. This coin, which is a half shekel coin, per gulgolet. Gulgolet is literally translation of a skull. So in other words, a coin per head. It's a head count type of tax. Each male above the age of 20 per head has to give this beka. So if Nosson says, let's go a step forward. Gulgolet in the Kabbalah refers to the highest level, which is above the sphirot. It's called the level of the Keter. The Keter is the gateway to the infinite light. What this means on a practical level, when you in life suffer frustration, confusion, lack of clarity, lack of knowledge, what you need to help you go through this, to get through this challenge, is a light from this gulgolet, this skull, this level of the Keter. That the Keter shines its light to you, okay? But the problem is, the Keter, it's not easy to get to. You have to crack through it in order to activate the light beyond it, which is the infinite light, which will help you. So Beka translates as, it means a coin, Beka, but also Beka means to cut, to crack, to make an incision, a Beki'ah. Beka legulgolet means that this charity, machatzita shekel, cracks open the Keter, allowing a person to come to clarity in life. On a practical level, what that means, when a person taps into such true simcha in life, what does he gain? What is the main gain of joy in life? Clarity. Clarity. That's the greatest gift of life. When you have a clarification of all the frustrations and confusions and doubts, and you don't know what to do like this or that, and you're miserable because of that. When you have clarity, that's the greatest consolation, the greatest refuah, the greatest healing, the greatest remedy. And this is true, the half shekel coin, which is the idea of activating simcha. So Rav Nosson saying, joy brings upon beka lel gugolet, it brings upon a clarification of light from beyond the Keter, which is clarity, okay? So now what's amazing is that this tax, like this charity, was an obligation. Now that the Torah obligates the Jews. It's like, tzedakah, there's many charity organizations. You can decide whether or not to give. Charity, when you don't give, it's very dangerous. It's like it's a big punishment when you don't give tzedakah. What's our catch? The catch is that you don't have to give an unworthy cause. Someone who's not worthy, you don't have to give. In fact, you should not give. So because we don't know who's honest and who's not, when a person doesn't give tzedakah, he has what to rely upon. He says, I don't trust that guy. I don't trust that organization. I think they're taking the money. With that, a person can use as an excuse why he doesn't give, because he feels the person is not worthy or not worthy enough, okay? That's our catch all year round, on all our life, why we can give, why we don't give. But here, the Torah is obligating us, you have to give. No questions here. You have to give. Why is the Torah forcing every Jewish male to give tzedakah? What's going on? Because the Torah knows that this tzedakah is what's going to help you. This charity of the half shekel coin, which is going towards items which produce joy in the world, joy in your life, which is the korbanot and the ktoret, okay? This will activate joy, and we know you need it. Whether you like it or not, you need joy in your life. You need everyone needs a boost of joy, especially after the winter months coming towards Adar, which is the beginning of the month of joy, the month of Simcha. You need a boost of Simcha. You think it's easy to transition from the cold winter nights of Tevet and Shvat, and you're sad and you're negative and you're down, and then to go into all of a sudden just like that to the month of such a high Simcha, Likutey Moharan Simcha. No, it doesn't happen by itself. So the Torah foresaw, of course, the miracles of Purim and the month of Adar, which the rabbis instituted. So Torah obligates this tzedakah as a tax. Everyone has to give it. Why? Because you are going to benefit from it more than crazy. Okay? This is the idea of the tzedakah tax of the Shekalim. And it's amazing how this year, in our case of the leap year this year, it fits in with Parshat Vayakel, which deals with the donations given by the Jewish people towards the building of the Mishkan as a rectification from the sin of the golden calf. So one amazing point of the Parsha is that it says when Moshe told the Jewish people, okay, we need donations for gold, silver, copper, these type of materials, these type of dyes, this type of wood. So the people who were collecting the donations, they were telling Moshe Rabbeinu, whoa, tell them to stop. They're bringing too much. There's too much donations coming in. So Moshe Rabbeinu had to put a stop. What's funny about this is normally when collecting charity for a worthy cause, you have to kill yourself to get the donations, to squeeze people from their being miser and not interested, to convince them it's not easy. And here, the Torah is showing that the Jews were flooding to give tzedakah, to give their donations to the temple, to the Mishkan, the tabernacle. The Moshe Rabbeinu tell them, hey, stop, it's too much already. Right? Vaikale mehavi, the verse reads, and they stopped. Vaikale, it's like this, the same word is used in the flood of Noach. It says Vaikale, that the flood water stopped because it was too much. It's like a wave, a flood of donations came in. It's funny, the wording is similar to Parshat Noach, Vaikale, Chaf Lamed Aleph, you can see in the Parsha this week, Vayakel. And that's the idea that there was so much and it had to put a big dam to stop it. That's the idea of Vaikale, that it was really so much happening and it had to be stopped by force with Moshe Rabbeinu's authority of saying stop giving donations. So what's interesting, in the world, they work so hard, with these fundraising campaigns and these organizations. They do so much to get you to give, okay? What's the secret? In this week's Parsha, the Jews knew the secret of the tabernacle is it will atone for the golden calf. What exactly will atone for the golden calf? And the opposite, what caused the golden calf? What caused the golden calf was the sadness and frustration the Jews had. The frustration of where the Moshe Rabbeinu is going to come down. And the sadness caused due to that frustration, that's what led the Jewish people, whoever were involved, to fall into the trap of the golden calf. And the Mishkan being that rectification is the exact opposite. The Mishkan is what induces and inculcates and activates and brings into the world the light of joy. Like we just said, the korbanot and the incense are going to bring joy. So when the Jews knew that this is going to activate joy, and for sure, they came running to give, okay? So I have to say, by fundraisers are very, fundraising events and fundraisers, they work very hard to know how to get to people. What's the secret to fundraising properly? It's in this week's Parshat and the Shekalim. When you convince people that they will become happy by donating and giving, so people give with an open heart. So these fundraisers, for example, they try to get good food, good music, sometimes someone to tell good jokes, to get people in such a happy mood, and then they're willing to give. It's this week's Parsha also, that the Jews were so happy to give and give because there was simcha involved here. And fundraisers know that you want to get people to give, you have to bring them to be happy, to feel the happiness about it, okay? So this is an amazing point learned in the Parsha, the obligation of the Shekalim, and how come the Jews gave so much in this week's Parsha, because all this shows how simcha is the key here. You're only going to gain. It's a win-win situation. The receiver, the temple, is receiving, and the giver is also gaining. It's a win-win situation of tons of joy activated. Okay, this is the time of the temple. Today, what do? Rabbi Nachman said that the best time to give charity to the Holy Land is the month of Adar. Okay, it parallels the tzedakah of the Shekalim in the time of the temple. Today we don't have a temple, so what can we do instead? is to give to a cause which is closest as possible to the temple, and that's the Holy Land, Eretz Yisrael. Which is why Rabbi Nachman said, giving tzedakah in Adar, similar, not exactly the same thing, but similar to the idea of giving tzedakah to the temple and the Beit HaMikdash and the tabernacle, those induced and activated joy, so to tzedakah to Eretz Yisrael, especially in the month of Adar, activates joy. And all this as a preparation for Purim. Because as you probably know by now, or you don't know, that in Breslov teachings, Rabbi Nachman's teachings, there is a major, I can go on and say 100 times more, major emphasis on being happy on Purim as the key for everything else in the year. Everything starts, even Rosh Hashanah emanates ultimately from the preceding light of Purim of the preceding year. The Purim light of joy, Rabbi Nachman teaches, is the key for Pesach, where he says, Rabbi Nachman explicitly in Likutey Moharan, that by being joyous on Purim, you are protected from chametz on Pesach, because it is humanly impossible for a person on their own, without divine intervention, without divine providence, to be saved 100% from chametz and sore. There's so many particles. Who knows if now a particle is coming into your mouth during the Chag? Because on Pesach, the prohibition of chametz is mashu, is any amount, mashu, anything. Any amount enters your mouth. How do you know? How could you be so careful? Even wrapping everything with tin foil and everything, even after all that, who says if it's of divine intervention, it won't work out? So Rabbi Nachman says, because of that, be smart. Hachacham einav berosho, the wise person looks at the beginning. What's the beginning? 30 days before Purim, before Pesach, which is Purim. If you succeed, Rabbi Nachman teaches, investing in the joy on Purim, that's your key for having Pesach. And if you have Pesach, then you have the key to eventually preparing for Har Sinai, Shavuot, receiving the Torah every year, which means a newer advancement in your spiritual devotions, in your spiritual level, in your Torah perception and perspective goes up. Thanks to what? Shavuot is thanks to Pesach, Pesach is thanks to Purim, and Purim is thanks to the preparation beforehand. Again, because of that, it's a big thing now in this time before Purim to ask Hashem, please let me be happy on Purim. Let me not to be upset, not to be down. Help me tap into the simcha of Purim. It's the key for everything else in the year. In Breslov teachings, they make such a big deal of this davening period before Purim, coupled with the tzedakah of the Shekalim, which today is a tzedakah to the Holy Land. All this is meant to get people happy, to get them happy on Purim, because if you truly tap into the happiness of Purim, that's the key for the rest of the year. We should be zoche on this Shabbat Shekalim to really get wakened up with such a boost of joy by just reciting the Parsha already of the Shekalim, which we're going to recite on this Shabbat. We should bring upon ourselves the holiness of the Shekalim, obviously joined with tzedakah towards Eretz Yisrael, which Rabbi Nachman said Adar is the month. This together should help us to be happy on Purim. And if you have the happiness on Purim, it's meant to spread for the entire year, especially for the upcoming Pesach and Shavuot. Shabbat Shalom, and have an amazing Shabbat Shekalim, and have an amazing Chodesh, Rosh Chodesh Adar. Mi shenichnas Adar, marbim besimcha.